Hi, this is Delanie Stephenson again, and I just wanted wanted to say hi. How are y'all doing today? Today, my episode is going to be about us being a stroke survivor and having a sister who is also a stroke survivor. I have a younger sister. She's about 2.5 years younger than me. Um, we had a love-hate relationship growing up like any other siblings do. I used to have to bribe her to play with me because she wanted to have nothing to do with me. I wanted to be so much like her. I was more the academic and into, as soon as I got home, I would study and hit the books, while she was the social butterfly going everywhere and going out on dates and stuff. And I was always so jealous of her. I always wanted to be like her. Well, I think I tried a little bit too hard because, of course, I had a stroke like her too. I remember the night of her stroke. It was Wednesday night. She had gone in for outpatient surgery on a Monday in August of 2011. A very normal procedure. They found a lump on her neck, decided to remove it, and through a series of events, there were some problems during surgery, so she wound up having to stay in the hospital for a few extra days. We didn't. I didn't call her that day of or anything. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. How I wish I would have, because I received a call Wednesday night and my dad said, "Don't worry about coming down, but I just wanted to let you know your sister is in the emergency room. She's had a stroke." And for a second, I'm dumbfounded. I'm thinking, a stroke? She's 29 years old. There's no way. But lo and behold, he called. I was like, "Well, you're just playing a joke on me." I wouldn't believe him at first, but he was like, "No, I'm serious. She's in the hospital." And he said, "Don't come down." So what did I do? I told my husband I'd watch the kids for who knows how long. I packed my bags. I think I just changed into some regular clothes because I was already in my nightgown at that time. I hit the road and went straight back home, which was 2 hours away. And when I got to the hospital, my dad met me out in the parking lot. And I just started bawling because I just could not imagine being that my sister had a stroke. I went in and saw her, and one side, I don't remember which side, but one side had been affected, and she couldn't move it. But she was sitting up in her hospital bed. She was talking. She was laughing. So that kind of assured me that she would be okay. Well, as the days progressed, her stroke actually spread, and she lost about half of her brain. It's still there. It's just half of it is dead. So she lost the ability to walk, to talk. She had the peg tube, months of rehabilitation. So she went into the hospital in August and didn't come out until October. I selfishly, as I went and visited her in the hospital several times, I always thought, gosh, I can't imagine what this would be like. I'm so glad that I don't have to experience this, because it always came into my mind, what if this happened to me? Would my husband be able to handle it? How would my parents react? Would I receive the help that I needed? What would it feel like to be like that, to be paralyzed and not be able to talk to anyone? And so she finally came home from rehab, and she was totally different. I remember the first Christmas we had after she had her stroke. She is somebody who loves fall. She loves everything pumpkin spice. She loves to decorate. And it was like she didn't care at all that year. She wasn't into it at all. She wasn't into the gifts. She wasn't into any of the festivities that were going on. And it was like I just wanted to grab her and shake her and tell her to snap out of it, because she wasn't being the Karen that I knew. And it took us a while, that whole spring really, next spring of 2012, to get used to this new person. And I still did not understand why the old Karen wouldn't come back. She would not talk on the phone. She would only text. She had lost the use of her left arm. And she basically sat in her recliner in the basement almost all day long. And she wouldn't ever want to go anywhere. And almost like she was in a state of depression. And I was like, hey, you've been given a second chance at life. Why don't you just take it? And I tried talking to her and stuff, but nothing seemed to work. Well, bam, June the 6th, 2012. My husband calls my mom and says, I'm taking Delanie to the hospital. I think she's having a heart attack or something serious going on. My mom said, okay, I'll call you back in a few minutes. She was in a state of disbelief. She had just gotten over one of her only two daughters, having a stroke. There was no way that her other daughter had a stroke. So then she called my husband back a couple hours later. You said something about Delanie was going into the hospital. Is everything okay? And I've already shared my stroke story, so you all know what happened then. But after I had the stroke, after I had the stroke, I remember my sister coming into my hospital room, and she made everybody leave. This was like a day or two after, whenever I was still in ICU. And she and I were in the room by ourselves. I couldn't talk because I had the tube down my throat. She's not much of a talker anymore. And all she did was just sit there and be with me. And I looked into her eyes and she looked into mine, and it was like, listen, you've got this. Everything was going to be okay. And I never told her this, but from that moment on, I didn't worry if I was going to be able to talk again. I didn't worry if I was going to be able to eat at Chick-fil-A that I loved again. I didn't worry if I would be able to walk again. Because I was determined that if my sister was able to get through all of this, I was too. I had an example of what the stroke journey would be like. Would it be exactly the same? No. But I knew sort of what to expect. And I hate to say this, but it's like my sister's stroke prepared my family for mine, because my mom was already doing things she had learned in therapy with me when I was still in the ICU. I asked Karen some questions. Karen is not someone who, she is still very private. She doesn't talk about her stroke that much. And of course she did not want to get on camera. So I asked her, how did she feel seeing her sister in the hospital having a stroke? And this is just coming from her. This is not anyone else's perspective. This is another stroke survivor's perspective on seeing a stroke survivor. She said she felt not as scared because she'd already been through it. Been there, done that. I've done it. And so she was like me. She had no qualms whatsoever. She was pretty sure that I was going to be able to get most of my, faculties or facilities. I'm sorry, that's part of my stroke brain. Get most of them back. Our strokes, as far as how they affected us, were both different and same at the same time. They were both the same in that they were really out of the blue. They both happened at home. Hers, she was sitting in a recliner. Mine, I was at home in my car. But other than that, she lost the use of her left arm. She does walk with foot drop. I use a cane. I look better. And I don't mean like I look better, but I physically look like I'm doing better. But mentally, I have a lot of cognitive and emotional deficits. So those, just because two people say they have had a stroke, that doesn't mean that their experience was the same at all. I asked her what it felt like to be part of a stroke family, because our family has been very, very familiar with stroke. She was 29 when she had hers. I was 33. And she said that before the stroke and after the stroke, she's very private. She's a very, very private person. But all that changed because of the stroke, because there were a lot of people rallying around her and supporting her and coming to visit her, and she didn't really, she couldn't move. She didn't have a choice. Or at one point in time, she couldn't talk. She couldn't tell them to leave. But the fact that our family pulled through this and were able to today get together. We had big Christmas, big Thanksgiving at my mom and dad's this year. Um, the fact that we pulled through, that we were able to, we're still adjusting to things, but we're moving on, so to speak. That in and of itself shows the strength of the people, of the family unit itself. And advice she wants to give to anyone, and I agree with all of what she says, is to seek counseling, not only for the stroke survivor, but for the family members as well. And I advise that even before you get home, because there are issues and things that you need to think about that you don't realize. There are things that you're going to face that you don't realize until you get home and it's too late. And if you can meet some of those things in the forefront before, that will help you out. If you are a religious person, rely on God. If you go to church, rely on your church family. Ask for help, whether it's your relative who lives the next town over or a neighbor down the street. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you need it, ask for it. Work hard on your marriage. Both of us were extremely lucky that we married very strong men. Both of them had every reason in the world to up and go. I even told my husband, I think I told you this in an earlier video, that he had permission to leave me and to find a better suited woman who could take care of him and the kids. But neither one of them even thought of that as an option. They stood by our sides. They, watched us do things that husband and wife shouldn't watch each other do. I remember my husband giving me baths whenever I first, or given with the little showers whenever I first was able to get into the bathtub. I mean, they would go to work. Her husband worked long hours, and he would still come home, clean the house, take care of the kids, fix supper. I mean, we both have been blessed with very strong, godly men who literally, whenever you take your wedding vows and you say, for better or for worse, they definitely made it through the worst. And she says, never stop pushing yourself. No, she is always on the go. She makes me, what she does in her life, she just makes me tired just thinking about what she does. She's like me. She doesn't work. She used to be a teacher or a family of teachers. She went back to work for a little bit, but wound up having a I think it was a seizure at school, and so they wound up deciding that she wasn't ready to go back to work yet. But things are different now. Life has somewhat settled down. It's been almost 6 years till her stroke, almost 5 for mine. We react very differently to the stroke. She, who used to be a very, very outgoing person, is quieter now. She doesn't have a lot to say, but when she does, it's got a bite. She's very blunt. Um, she says it like it is, no filter whatsoever. I have changed to be as you know, a very strong stroke advocate. Speaking and going different places and talking to anyone who will listen about stroke, especially young stroke. But things are different. We used to call and talk on the phone all the time. Almost every 2 or 3 days we would call, and we both have young kids about the same age, and we don't do that anymore. She will not. She doesn't. She texts. She gets on Facebook, but she doesn't. She doesn't like to talk on the phone. We don't do as much together. We used to like meet halfway. We live 2 hours away, so we meet like at the middle point. Often take the kids shopping or go out to eat or go to play at the park or whatever. But we don't do that anymore because neither one of us really can drive that far. And so meeting up is difficult. We have to depend on someone else to take us to where we want to meet up or where we want to go. But through it all, the main important part is, like I said, with me and my daughter and I, excuse me, my dad's an English teacher. We're still sisters. We argue, we bicker, we fight. You kind of started on politics, and it's like an all-out brawl. But we love each other. We're there for each other. And my sister hates it whenever I do this, but I often call us the Stroke Sisters. Because that's what we are. That we are sisters that both had a stroke, affected in different ways. But hey, we're getting through this life the best that we can, the only way that we know how. And no matter what, we're sisters to the end. And here's a picture of us. I'm not technologically savvy, so this is us from this past Thanksgiving. Do we look alike? She'd die if you said that we did. But we love each other. We are family. We love each other. And really, that's all that matters. That's all that's important. So thanks for coming today. Thank you for visiting. Until next time, peace out.